Hey, good evening, and welcome back to Mindset Explosion, Season 4, Episode 18. Joined tonight by the lovely Lucy Mowatt, and we are talking about methods that drive results. I'm looking forward to speaking with you, Lucy, because we just had a great chat, and I just really admire how you started out in business, the reasons behind it, maybe some of the things that you was going through, and having a great year last year. And I know you got big plans with a wedding coming up, so...
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
No, my pleasure. And I'm, as I said before we come on air, I'm quite envious about your lighting. It's all nice and bright. You got the professional microphone. I just like, okay, I need to sort myself out.
Well, it's lucky as well because it isn't chucking it down for once. You know, we've managed to get a sunny spell this afternoon.
Oh yeah, good. It was a bit on and off, wasn't it, today?
Oh, it's been weird.
So, Lucy, you started your own business 2018, and it sounds like you're really ready to upscale. You're at a great place to be. But like, how did you make that decision? Or tell us a bit more about your business first of all.
So I run a content marketing consultancy in Norwich. So I help people with their website content, their blogs, brochures, social media PR, that kind of thing. So what I'd say is my specialism is anything to do with words, and I can help with other aspects as well, sort of, and advise on other aspects of marketing. I made the decision, so I started out as an editor. So my initial career was working in magazines and things, and moved sideways, and sort of been in-house agency side on and off throughout my career. And was working in-house and sort of realised I missed the variety of working at an agency, and sort of made the decision actually that I guess I'm quite ambitious and quite entrepreneurial and really wanted to have something of my own, and thought, well, why not try it? And handed my notice in. And the rest is kind of history, as they say.
And so before we came on air, you kind of talked about like maybe the career path, it was almost, it was in your control, but in some respects, maybe you felt like it wasn't. So was that kind of a big part of making that decision?
Yeah, I sort of felt like I hit a bit of a ceiling. I mentioned to you, as I felt like I was struggling to take the next step in my career for some reason, and sort of applying for jobs or sort of acting up and being a marketing manager and doing the role, but not actually being promoted to it or being able to get the job elsewhere. So part of the reason I made the decision to start my own company was actually to sort of almost break my own glass ceiling and go and be my own boss and run a company in the way that I kind of wanted to, and have the freedom over how I worked, where I worked, and who actually I worked with, and working with companies whose values I feel align with my own.
Yeah. And is it something you've kind of been thinking about for a long time, or is it like, because sometimes it can be a bit of an overnight decision, but it's
funny. It's when I was a kid, I always dreamed of either being like a magazine editor and working on this big magazine, and then sort of grew up and realized it's kind of difficult to do that. But I had a period of about 3 months in, I think it's 2016, where I was freelance. I sort of just made the decision and then almost chickened out on it. I sort of did 3 months, and then I got offered a job and went, oh great, I'll do that, and went off and did it. And then I feel like over the course of the next sort of year, it dawned on me how much I had enjoyed being my own boss, and how much freedom I had and that kind of thing. So it became it became a bit of a gradual dawning over the course of sort of a year, 18 months, and then it was almost sort of exactly to the 2-year mark when I resigned.
Right.
I tried 2 years back and working for somebody else, and realized that actually it really doesn't work for me.
Yeah. Did it make, in terms of happiness, how was that? Was it affecting that at all?
Yeah, I mean, I've struggled off and on sort of my entire life with sort of depression and a bit of anxiety. And I found that I think the lack of control, also I was doing quite a lot. I was studying for a diploma, I was working out a lot, and doing a 9-to-5. And I just really wanted the flexibility to be able to do things in my own time and under my own steam, or even work remotely. And I think the lack of control sort of started to take its toll on me a bit, and I was quite down by the time I made the decision, and actually had been to see a doctor to get some medication at that point, because I was quite down and felt out of control with what was happening.
I've obviously I've been through may not be obvious, but I've been through depression myself, and actually when I bought my studio at the time, or bought the share out of it that was there, I was going for similar things and talking. I guess I'm around a lot more entrepreneurs now, a lot more business owners, and say what I was, back then. And the thing is, I think I seen it this week, and I spoke about it a little bit, that in terms of mindset, our mindset is great because we know exactly what we want. And sometimes, it's great because everyone sees all the successful stuff, but sometimes behind the scenes, there's a lot of this going on. And I think it's quite important to talk about. And I guess for other entrepreneurs or people who want to get into that kind of lifestyle, or they're feeling that way, it seems like there's a lot of us out there, and which is sad. But on the other hand, I think it's quite inspiring to think, what, regardless.
Yeah, I think maybe it is just sort of an unsettled thing. I think maybe that's something I've maybe felt until I became self-employed throughout my entire career, as a sense of being maybe slightly unsettled and lacking control. And maybe that is something that maybe I could have acknowledged earlier, is actually I really like to sort of be in control of my own fate and my own working day, actually. But it's been something maybe as I've got older, I've become more aware that is it's one of the things that makes me unhappy and contributes to that mental health issue. Yeah.
And I guess as well, because I think me personally, and I think everyone we have this need to give. And sometimes by doing it in your own way, you can really fulfill. You're smiling.
Yeah. So, even like in jobs that I've hated, I've ended up like working late and going like above and beyond, and all the while sort of resenting it, actually, but doing it and going above and beyond because you want to do a good job. You want to give people the best value for money and things like that. But then to have it not appreciated, it becomes quite hard to take.
Yeah. So when you took that step of I'm handing my notes in, had you an idea? You obviously must have had an idea for the business, but had you the method marketing name? Did that come later? How did this all evolve from that day?
Yeah, I had an idea. And I was going to be called Myrtle Marketing, but then I realized it was probably going to be quite difficult to spell. It's not necessarily an easy word for people. And it sort of came to me during my notice period. So I had a month-long notice period, and it sort of came to me. I was like, actually, for me, a lot of it is about the doing of marketing and the practice of putting strategy into action and that kind of thing. So actually, method became kind of... it just became synonymous, and we just went, right, that's it. That's what I'm going to do. That's what I'm going to call it. But I didn't have any clients. But it's funny. I know it sounds maybe a bit woo-woo, but the day I resigned, I bumped into someone that I hadn't seen for 2 years because I used to freelance for them. And literally, I was walking to the gym on the day I resigned, and he was standing outside the gym, or like walking past the gym. And he was like, "Oh, how are you?" And I was like, "Oh, good. I just handed my notice in." And he went, "Oh, that's handy. Do you want to come in for a meeting next week? Because we've got loads of work that needs doing." And I was like, brilliant. The universe has given me a sign that this is totally the right thing.
Every entrepreneur says this sounds a bit woo-woo, but I think we all are.
I was just like, if I ever needed a sign that I was doing the right thing, like bumping into him was literally the sign that this was totally the right course of action.
No, that's really interesting. I'm going to go off subject a little bit because I think it was a room on Clubhouse beginning of the year when it was really crazy in there. And there was some real successful entrepreneurs, and they all talked about obviously law of attraction, knowing what you want. And I think it's getting all those things and balancing them all together. And I guess you bumped into someone, the woo-woo part, but then there's this is all happening right now, and it all does come together, doesn't it?
And this is, again, like, it's not necessarily something I even want to admit, but so I read The Secret about 6 months after starting my business, and the cynic in me was going, yeah, but it doesn't really work. It doesn't, but do you know what? Let's just try it. Let's think about what you want to happen. And I got onto a mentoring course, which really helped me, like, just after that. And that's in the last couple of years, my business has grown so much, and I think a positive outlook and visualizing what it is that I want has actually made a huge difference. Now, I don't know if it's the universe aligning or if it's just that I'm more open to opportunity. I don't know, but it seems to be working, so I'm not going to knock it, even if it is woo-woo.
I think it's all those things personally. I think it's it's a balance of everything. Just from my own experience, the right people seem to come at the very right time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and because you got the vision, it's like almost you're just pulling them in like what's it, the thing on Star Wars anyway? I'll shut up about that. The track.
Okay, yeah.
So yeah, like a magnet as well. It pulls them in, and it's crazy, isn't it? Because you think, like, you have that initial thought, right? I'm gonna do this, and a year down the line, you find you're doing stuff that you probably would never have. Someone told you like, a year ago, you're not. So you got your own podcast. Was that? I think you said before we came on that was something you wanted to do. Was that prior to your business, or?
No, it was. I think the two, me sort of starting my own business sort of came around the time that podcasts started to become more and more popular, and they were gaining traction. I was listening to quite a few when I was out for runs or like walking to work and things like that. So I was sort of enjoying a lot of podcasts. And I think I just mentioned it in passing. I was like, it could be great marketing. To my mentor, I said to her, I think it could be great marketing. I kind of want to do it. And she went, well, why aren't you? And I was like, I don't know. I'm just not. She went, well, if you really want to do it and it is something you think you're going to do, then, well, by the next time, I want you to have set out a plan and maybe even recorded your first one by the next time we meet. And I always like a challenge, and I like to be given a deadline. So I went away and started content conversations where I chat to sort of marketing managers in businesses or agencies or other freelancers to find out what they're doing and what they're enjoying, what they think the opportunities are. And it's just I really enjoy chatting to people about what they're doing, and I feel like I learn something, and hopefully my listeners learn something too. So yeah, it's actually been a really great learning curve for me as well, learning to edit sound. It's been fun.
I don't do that.
Well, I mean, admittedly, it's not like, playing around in GarageBand, but, learning the rudimental elements of sound editing. It's quite good fun. And I've learned something new.
No, and I think, I guess it just opens up more doors, and it's a win-win, because like you got new people come on the show, a bit like now. This is a win-win situation for both of us. And obviously, marketing is so important, right? I've been in different discussions on sales, marketing. Are they the same? They different? How do you view it?
They're different. Actually, it's funny. There was a chat going around. I can't remember where I saw it. Maybe it's a Facebook group about the difference between sales and marketing. And I think a lot of the time marketing is talking to lots of people and a wide audience, and sales is talking to one person. So ideally, you should be talking to as many people as possible in marketing to get them to that one-person one-on-one conversation that gets them to convert to sales, is how I would look at it.
So it's the top part of the funnel, right?
Yeah, top part of the funnel, yeah.
Do you find, I've heard stories in the past where people, maybe businesses, are trying to make budget cuts. And do you find that they take the budget they take away the marketing? It doesn't seem the right thing to do, but
no. And actually, I've been pleasantly surprised. So before we came on this call, I was saying to you, actually, I thought during the pandemic and then sort of ensuing economic situations that businesses would cut their marketing. Actually, I've been pleasantly surprised that actually most businesses that I know and that I work with haven't really made many cuts in the way of marketing. If anything, a lot of them have actually invested more, which I think is the sensible thing to do, because if you suddenly stop marketing, then a year down the line, when the pandemic's over, no one's going to remember who you are. Yeah. So actually, you're better off to continue drip feeding. And I think the businesses that will do the best and that will survive are the ones that are still visible, still talking to their audiences, still maintaining relationships with their existing clients in order to come through the other side and pick up in this new normal, whatever that looks like.
Yeah, so hopefully, I guess, what would you say to anyone that's maybe, I come across a lot of startups or people at the beginning of their journey. All I knew was, I used to be an engineer, then I changed my career to teaching martial arts, and had to, what's marketing? Someone told me about this, and there was no Facebook then, Lucy. It was, so we had to just go out in the street and talk to people and annoy them. But obviously, as things have developed, I think, say it was a plumber or something like that, or a brickie, or anyone just starting out on something, what's the best piece of advice you can say in terms of, right, do this for marketing?
My biggest thing is always think about the audience. What is it that your audience wants? Then from there, it will guide your marketing. So if you know sort of roughly who they are and what their core challenges are, then you can think about how you fit in with their core challenges and help them overcome them. That should then dictate sort of your messaging through your marketing. It should all come back to that core audience challenge or desire.
Yeah, and I guess then you don't have to sell.
Yeah, exactly. So, the content that you create is relevant to their challenges, how you can help them overcome their challenges, or, any advertising you do, you target it to really speak to their challenges. So, yeah. And it will, it will be true. And if you don't know, ask them.
Yeah.
If you think you know who your core audience is, or you've got some clients, go and ask them, what is it you find most frustrating about plumbing, for instance? What is it that holds you back from booking a plumber? Or, what is it you want to know about booking a plumber? Try and find out, and maybe ask on some Facebook groups. Actually, if you're thinking about just starting up, if you are completely a startup, Facebook's a great place to go and ask. Get in a group and ask people.
We're lucky now, really. We can ask.
We are.
Platforms. So, no, that's brilliant. Thank you. I was just going to ask something else. I was kind of thinking about, well, actually, it's more around the title. I kind of took bits from your website. So, methods that drive results. And I caught a part of it, it must have been a quote. It was on your website, and it did make me think. So I thought, right, I like this methods.
Okay.
So I'm sure it's like a subject that can go off in different directions. So in terms for, let's have a bit of plug on method marketing. Yeah. So what are the methods that you guys use that can drive the results? And
I'm actually a really big believer in research. So sort of understanding where you are right now to develop a strategy. So, what's the landscape that you're working? What is your audience wants? What are your competitors doing? What is it that you're really good at? Like taking a real audit of where you are right now and what makes you different and what your objectives are. So having a really good baseline for what you want to achieve to develop a good strategy, I would say. And then having a strategy means you can maximize your sort of revenue, your investment, so that you can reach as many people as possible and convert as many of those people as possible. Without doing all that initial work, you're not going to necessarily, if you're just going off on a scattergun and you're like putting a bit on Facebook over here, bit on your blog over here, bit on Instagram over there, you might not necessarily be reaching the people you want to reach or not reaching them consistently enough. So having a strategy where you really focus on what it is you want to do, what your audience wants, and having that as a starting point. But then also the other end of the process is looking at your results and going, what worked, what didn't, what can we do to improve that next time? Did people click through on their email? If they didn't, could it be that the subject line needs to change? So always sort of coming back to and looping back around to the beginning. It's just, because I know marketing has a bit of a reputation for being a bit fluffy and a bit ethereal and a bit sort of hard to grasp sometimes. And when people say, especially with print, or, you can't measure it. Well, there are things you can do. So, maybe unique URLs or campaign tracking or unique phone numbers and things like that you can really look at. Well, actually, we had 15 phone calls as a result of this ad, and they all half of them converted. Well, then maybe that's worth it. Let's do that again, or and then slightly tweak what the call to action is. So, and then looping back around to your strategy, doing a new strategy or updating it and starting over and looping back around.
It's like making a perfect cake, really, isn't it? It's just getting the ingredients right for it.
I love a good cake.
So obviously we're going to talk about mindset again now. And I really love what you just said, because it's important for marketing and it's obviously important for business, and people listen and watch the show that, they're quite happy. They don't want to be in business, but they're here for the mindset or the mental health benefit. But the first thing you said was take an audit.
Yeah, so important in your life and in your work.
And is that something, obviously you did that going back to maybe 3 years ago, and you took that and then you took the those next steps. Do you like, is that something you still do? Maybe not consciously sit down, right, let's audit where I am right now, but is it become, because if you're reading things like The Secret, so I imagine you've kind of been into a lot of other things, personal development and things like that. So is that something you kind of do as part of your personal journey and your business journey?
Yeah, I personally, I think it's really good for me to, I think for my mental health, is to just sort of assess, especially if I'm feeling, so at the moment I'm very, very busy and I have been feeling quite tense. And it is because I know that I'm really busy. So what is it that I can do to manage that? So, meditate, do more exercise. Exercise is such a great stress reliever for me. So go out for a run, or, eat differently. It's really just, every now and again, just checking in maybe once a week, especially if I am feeling a bit tense and uptight, is just take an audit of that and then work out what the cause is and how I can manage that root cause as well. So we were saying before, is for me, it'd be taking someone on who can help me manage the workload so I can delegate some of it. So that's sort of the next step for me. But it might be that I need to book some time off, something like that. So again, I think the pandemic's been bad for a lot of people, for not actually, especially entrepreneurs who run their own businesses, not taking time off, because you're like, well, I can't go anywhere, I can't do anything, I might as well work. But actually, it gets to June and you're halfway through the year and you haven't actually had a break. So for me, that's something that I know that I need to do, is say, right, I'm going to take a week off in a couple of weeks. So yeah, that there is a real element of being mindful and being sort of conscious of thought patterns and that kind of thing, and energy.
Yeah.
And in my business, actually, I schedule it. I love a to-do list, and I actually have it like as a recurring task for me, for my business, is to go back and go, right, so how am I doing against my objectives? Are they still the right objectives? Is this still what I want to be doing? Do I update them? And it's just taking stock of where I am and also my achievements. So I also have a note in my diary to say, right, actually look back and think about what you've achieved, and make sure that you actually acknowledge it. And celebrate it, even if all you do is have a little bit of a cake or something, just a little like reward to say, well done you, and I pat myself on the back and remind myself, because I'm not very good at doing that typically.
I think a lot of us are. I used to feel that I was a big head if I talked about how well we were, and especially on social media. But now I realize it is very important to look back down the mountain. Celebrate some of those wins. We've had some nice ones, I think this week and the week before, so it was nice to just put that out there. Mentally, I wasn't feeling that great. I wasn't 100%, but it kind of just helped move that edge off a little bit, I guess. So yeah, I think that's really important. And do you feel that I feel, where I've been through depression myself, that I'm much more aware of when this is creeping up on me now, right? This is my body now saying, stop today, nothing to do, just chill out, or go and go for a walk or whatever. Do you find that as well?
I do, yeah. I'm getting better at it. I think the older I get, the more I am aware of the signs in my body. So if I'm constantly tired, I think I know that that's coming. Or maybe don't have 2 glasses of wine, maybe only have 1 glass of wine, because it does tend to have a negative effect on me. Just even like a small amount of wine can be kind of a depressant for me. So like being aware of that and knowing, just to give myself some slack, I think a lot of the time, it's just to go, actually, like you say, like, okay, there's time to stop work now. Take an afternoon off or something.
No, definitely. And now going back to what you said about with the methods you guys use for your marketing, so then you audit, obviously you do whatever you're going to do, so you have a goal, set your target, and I guess there's a lot of tweaking.
Yeah,
so it don't work. It's pretty much right, what do we do about that? Yeah,
and that's it. It is about, for me, it's about being conscious, and sometimes it's said a lot about being in the moment and going, actually, is this really working? And is it something that I want to do again? Even if it is an achievement and it's great that I've done it, is it something that I want to do again? Or is it something that actually maybe I don't want to do anymore? And stop offering that service potentially. And actually that for me it's difficult, because just because I'm doing something, I have to sort of remind myself that it doesn't have to be that way. You're your own boss. You can change things.
Yeah. No, definitely. And it is our life as a business at the end of the day. I think really it would have been nice to have a bit more of that in schools when I was younger, but this is how it is. So, and I guess, I don't know if you found the same, like for me, it was, you got to get a career and get a good career and stay in there and make sure you get pension, you get health benefits, and just stay there and you'll be okay. And you must do this, you must do that. So it was quite a big decision to make that step, really.
I think my parents are always super supportive, but I think I'm the only person in my family, or one of few people in my family who run their own business. So I think it was a bit of a surprise, and I think there's a bit of concern, like you say, is what you can do about pension. What about when you want to go on holiday? So it's a learning curve, but it's great to be surrounded by people who sort of share your experiences. So I'm lucky enough to have been involved in the mentoring program run by Bird Soup, who do lots of women in leadership events across the UK. And it's great just to chat to people who have been in a similar situation, or are in a similar situation, or feel the same way. It just helps to put some of those things in perspective and ask for advice. Actually, it doesn't hurt to ask for advice from people.
No, I agree with that one. Actually, do you find, so if you're taking a different direction, it might have been, even going back to this, because I think I have to be quite careful, and I have to be careful how I say it, because I don't want to offend anyone, but I have to be quite careful who I'm talking to about the entrepreneurial things that I want to do, because if someone doesn't get it, it's what, hey, my fear is they're going to say something negative, and I'll do it anyway, but I don't want that in my head. I don't know if that makes sense.
It totally does. It's sort of protection. You don't want, if you've got this idea in your head, you don't want it necessarily tainted. If you sense that someone isn't going to get it or might be negative about it. So I totally get that. It can be, it can, because I think there's a chance that I would have stayed in employment forever. But actually it was on one of these Bird Soup workshopping events that the penny dropped, and I'd been thinking about it, but almost sort of subconsciously, that I was happier when I was working for myself. And then the penny dropped and I went, I need to resign.
Yeah.
And it wasn't immediate. And I worked out a plan and things like that. And it was subconscious, but it was being around other people who were sort of in similar situations or in leadership positions, and speaking to these other women and going, that was when I was happy. That's what I need to do. Yeah.
And do you feel, like, I think you've pretty much already said it with the podcasting, but you take that step and you don't know it all, do you?
No, God, you never know.
What am I doing?
I know. Actually, there were things like, people saying to me, "What are you going to do about your accounts and your tax?" I was like, I don't know. I'll figure it out. Yeah. And actually, I've got accountants, so they figure it out for me now. There are some things I'm not going to do.
No, yeah, and that's kind of what I mean. I have to be a bit careful, because people want to ask questions, which is good, but sometimes I feel like I try and ask the right question. And it's more, what if this happens? I don't want to ask, what if this happens? It's more like, well, what if it works? So I can't do accounts, like you said. Well, I get an accountant. So a lot of things, do you find you kind of take that step and you learn along the way, and you just, like, things fall into place anyway. It's like, well, how do I do this? Well,
even if they don't fall into place, then I've learned something.
Yeah.
It's but
sometimes
I think
not to do it, isn't it? Sorry, Lucy.
Exactly. It is that I can't remember who said it now, but I've not found 1,000. I found one way that works and 1,000 ways that didn't. It's Edison. Yeah. And it's like, the only way you're going to learn is a lot of the time is by doing. And I think I learn by doing. Yes, I'll read the instructions, but actually, for me, it sticks if I'm doing it. And my accounts is something that maybe I think I need to focus on doing my business. The amount of time it's going to take me to do my accounts. I could be doing something more productive with my time. So I'm going to use an accountant and figuring it out and going, actually, tearing my hair out, the fifth question on the HMRC self-service form, and going, I just need an accountant. Like, having tried it, I know that I don't need to do this. I'm just going to find someone else who knows what they're doing and not do it. Yeah.
I think sometimes it was the cost at the beginning. I looked, oh no, I won't be able to afford that. I can do this. This is easy.
Yeah.
I can just photo a receipt, but it's not like that. So yeah. Someone once described it, when you start out, you're wearing all these different hats, and then you take, this is why I got no hair. So you take that hat off, you pass it on until you're able to, go on to the next one. But so in terms of what you guys are doing, so do you look after the marketing for a business, or are you kind of coaching and guiding people, or is it a bit of both?
Yeah, so it's a bit of both. So a couple of my clients, I'm sort of effectively their retained marketing manager. So I'll sort of advise them on what they think they should do some of the deliverables as well, and advise and provide consultancy sort of that way. Others I do a project by project. So a company will come to me and say, we need X doing, can you do it? And then others, I might do some training and some workshopping and help people to learn sort of what the best thing to do is along, and provide them support as and when they need it, and help their teams to develop in that way.
No,
so it's a nice mix.
Yeah, no, it is definitely. I know you're quite a big advocate for women in business, and that's a lot about your mentorship. And I think that's so important. And I know we talked a little bit off air about that, and you actually opened my eyes to a few things. And what would you suggest to maybe someone that was in your position as to another female or anyone, but let's talk about for a female that's feeling whatever.
I think it's a hard decision if you are thinking about going self-employed, especially if so I'm sort of mid-30s, so you might have a family and children, so it might be difficult. You might need to sort of make a better plan, sort of a long-term plan. But I'd say speak to people. Like, if you can find other people who you look up to, and ask them about how they manage it, and ask them lots of questions, and take them for a coffee or something. I think, and that's certainly something that has helped me along the way, is having someone that I can speak to, bounce ideas off, get support. So, as I say, finding my mentor was fantastic, because she actually led me to a lot of answers that I was maybe looking for. She didn't actually tell me what to do, but she sort of led me to the point where I was like, oh yeah, okay, I can see that I need to do this. And then it really helped me grow. So I'd say either, find someone you look up to and ask them to, lots of questions, or if you can, find a coach or a mentor and formalize it, because it's so helpful to have that person that you can turn to.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, actually. And the thing is, there's so many different mentors out there now, and even if they're not, I'd say most people I come across in business, we all just want to help. So rising tide raises all ships. It's good for everybody. It's good for the economy. It's good for the country, and it's really important. So now that's great advice. And I think we kind of touched on it earlier. You were so lucky with social media. And it can be a bit of the devil for some, I know, but there's so many different groups to, like you said, you can get in, and surrounding yourself. I started on I joined a mastermind last year, and it was literally like going back to school. Do you know when you gone up from juniors to high school, and bigger than you?
It's good. You have that inspiration. You can be around people who, as you say, like lift you up with them. You hear their stories, and you're just brought along with it, and you go away and you go, yes, I can do what I want to do. I can do what I set my mind to, and I can hit those. It's really nice to be around people who have that effect on you.
No, definitely. And I think that's when things come along, and it's like, I hadn't thought of doing that. I'm going to do that now. And you take a little bit of a change of direction, but you're still on course for a bit like what you said at the beginning. As a girl, you always wanted to be an editor of a magazine. So you set your sights on something really high, really it's going to mean so much to you, and actually you've gone beyond that vision, if that makes sense. Didn't have that, it might have sidetracked a bit, but it's still well,
that's it. I always wanted to be a magazine editor, and then actually going at, well, what happens now? I'm an editor in a shrinking industry as well. What next? And moving sideways into content marketing, where there's a bit more opportunity, which is and variety, actually. And there's also no reason why I can't do that again. There's no reason why I can't launch a magazine as an agency. There's still an opportunity that's there, but you go off in different directions, and actually sometimes it's nice to do that, and you don't necessarily know where you're quite going to end up, running my own company, but it's brilliant, and I wouldn't have it any other way.
No, definitely, and I guess one of the words of the last year is pivot. So
Yeah.
you'd have had to pivot either way, because like you said, I guess
Yeah.
it's everything's online now, everything's digital. That's the way it is. So
although I am hopeful that there might be a return to print, because actually I think there's something special about print. And I get National Geographic Traveller, and while sometimes it was a bit of a kick in the teeth during lockdown because I couldn't go anywhere, it was really nice to get that through the door and that physical thing, and step away from my screen and read something in physical format. So I think there's still a place for high-end print. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Well, they should be, really, because I think you just said it there, getting away from the screen. It's obviously not good always having that light shining in your face. No. Well, Lucy, thank you so much. Some really insightful stuff there. And you said your podcast is seasonal. So is that it's running at the moment? Like, when does it break? How does it work?
It's not. So I've started it in the winter of 2019, so autumn, winter, and I did it again, sort of autumn, winter, into 2020. What year are we in? I can't remember. I've lost all track. So I'm going to get my way.
Your memory, by the way.
I know that 2020 happened. I just don't remember any of it. It all just felt like one long day. But yeah, so get my wedding out of the way, and then I'll resume it autumn, winter this year. I'm very much looking forward to speaking to people and finding out how their marketing and their businesses are going once we start returning to normal. I think it'd be really interesting to see how things now develop and change for us individually and for businesses.
Oh, definitely. I think I've loads of people have pivoted, and I think there's been some really interesting develops, because like for me, we had to close, just got backed into a corner. So, well, there was only one way to go in a corner, isn't it? It's forward. So we just got out. Don't get me wrong, it's taken a hit, but we're looking forward to tomorrow. We're going to be back open properly, rather than like half a little bit. And no, I think it's going to be some really interesting success stories that will come out of this. And and I know a lot of people have not been so fortunate, but I hope from this show this evening that there is always hope, isn't there? Really, no matter where you're feeling, there's a way forward. You've started a business up in depression and similar south, and it's just making that decision, and you find the answers along the way. You don't need to know it all.
Yeah, and that's it. Is that who knows what tomorrow, even the next hour, is going to bring. You could end up having that chance conversation with someone that completely changes everything.
No, 100%. So when's the big day, Lucy?
August 21st.
Oh wow, not long.
I know, it's really short notice. We didn't think we were going to get a date this year because we were meant to get married in Italy last year. So we obviously we cancelled the whole thing because we thought, well, who knows when we're going to be able to go to Italy again. But yeah, we found a venue in June, and they said, oh, actually, we do have one date, and it's in August. Do you want it? And we were like, okay, yeah, I guess so. Yeah, so it's soon, but I'm can't wait.
So that must have been good news that you allowed a few more guests now, or was it?
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
And hopefully, I'm hoping that things will be eased again. I mean, depending on what happens, hopefully things will be eased again a bit, and we'll be able to have a few more people than that. So yeah, very much looking forward to August.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
The universe and the angels, and it will happen.
It will.
Well, no, good luck and all the best. I hope you have, both have a wonderful. Well, all of you, obviously, it's
thanks.
Parents, everyone has a wonderful day. But thank you so much for coming on, Lucy. And
well, thanks for having me. It's been great. It's always, as I said, great to chat to other people who are sort of inspiring and doing great things.
Thank you very much. All right. Thank you, everyone. I will be back next week with another great guest. So enjoy the rest of your week, and we'll see you then. Bye.
Bye.